The Olympics. I don't watch the Olympics. I've never really cared for the Olympics, and I haven't watched it in years. But I did see this clip, that the Olympic ceremony opened with that anthem of the brilliant genius, global citizens of the world, that awful twaddle by John Lennon, one of the worst songs ever written, Imagine.
I did not expect to see the Voice's Keith Urban here as part of the opening ceremony, but that was spectacular.
I did not expect to hear that song that they play every year since, 50 years ago, and that the aged boomer hippies think is the most important hymn in the liturgical calendar and in our hymnal. I did expect it because they do it all the time. It's awful. The vision of society that it presents is just communism. Imagine there's no God. Imagine there's no heaven. Imagine there's nothing to live for. Imagine there's no distinctions between people or anything that makes you special. It's awful. It's an ugly, hideous, inhuman vision of society, and that's the vision the ruling elite wants to push on you. I love that the Olympics opened with Imagine. I love it in part because I don't watch the Olympics, so I didn't have to endure that awful song by John Lennon. But I love it because it's an acknowledgement that the liberal ruling class, the sort of globalized citizen of the world class, doesn't have any new ideas. They've been playing the same damn song forever and ever. I loved at the end of the broadcast, the broadcaster said, "Wow, I did not expect that. That's not a knife. This is a knife." I don't know. My Australian's not very good. And so the broadcaster said that. Just a little trip back through memory lane. They play this song almost every year. Here we go. London, 2012. Wow. So inspiring. Imagine there's no heaven. Pyeongchang, 2018. Imagine there's no heaven. Imagine you turn to worm food when you die. Torino, 2006. Above us, just this physical world, and we're all gonna just turn to take a dirt nap when we die. 96 in Atlanta. There, wow, inspiring. Imagine all the people living for their own hedonistic pleasure with nothing that is permanent. Wow. I was reading Chesterton last night, G.K. Chesterton, the great British Catholic writer, and he pointed out that the Carpe Diem religion, seize the day, live for today, the Carpe Diem religion is not the religion of happy people. It's the religion of very unhappy people. And we all know this in our own life. We know that friend of yours who all he's ever doing is chasing momentary pleasure, no regrets, you regret the things you don't do, or whatever. That guy is never your happiest friend. Paradoxically, strangely, counterintuitively, according to many people, it tends to be the well-grounded, moderate, religious people who have a family, who practice the virtues, who rein in their own passions. They tend to be happier. Isn't that weird? Isn't that a strange thing? It's counterintuitive, but it's not, of course. The Carpe Diem religion, the seize the day, we're only living for today, there's no heaven, there's nothing above us, we're just this world. That religion, which is the dominant view of the liberal ruling class, is a desperate religion. It's the same problem that I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but on a holiday, very often tensions are very high when you're going over your family for a holiday, or Valentine's Day is a lot like this, where you're so focused on having a good time, you're so intent, you think the day will be ruined if you don't have a good time, that you never have a good time, if you focus like that. If you just take the day as it will, if you take life as it will, if you recognize that life involves a great deal of suffering, but there is a point to it, and that actually there is an ennobling aspect to this suffering, and there's something beyond just this physical world. If you recognize that, then it sanctifies everything. It makes it much more comfortable, much more bearable. But if all you're focused on is pleasuring yourself all the time, you are going to be miserable. I know it seems counterintuitive. People are waking up to that. I think a lot of the revolt against our ruling elite is recognizing that the things that they've promised us have not panned out. Women were told that if they just stopped raising families and went out to work for some old guy at the widget factory 100 hours a week, that would make them happier, and it hasn't. The measures of this, it's hard to measure happiness, but such as they are, these measures have shown that isn't true. Women's happiness has declined dramatically. If we just tell our kids to, pursue their own ambitions and interests and our own ambitions and interests, and without regard to a classical, serious education, they'll be happier. They're not. They're more stressed, they're more anxious and suicidal than ever. If we just let the liberal ruling elite ship our jobs overseas, yeah, we'll lose our job at the factory, but it's okay, because GDP will increase and we'll have more gizmos from China, and that'll make us all happier. Will it? No. We've got deaths of despair going through the roof. We're actually seeing a reduction in American life expectancy. We've got an opioid crisis running amok. Well, if we just empower international organizations and empower China, then the world is going to live in peace. Is it? I don't know. We just had a global pandemic, allegedly, the worst, deadliest pandemic ever. But regardless of the lethality of the virus, we shut down the whole world. How'd that work out? Didn't work out very well at all. And I think people are waking up to this, and they're saying, oh God, these people have ruined my country. The religion of imagine that nothing matters other than our own pleasure and bumping up GDP and suppressing the idiot percentage and just following this ruling class wherever they want to lead us. That hasn't panned out very well. And so I think the Trump vote was in many ways a reaction against that. And I think you're only seeing that increase. The candidacies right now of J.D. Vance and Blake Masters, the two Senate candidates who are really contradicting a lot of conservative orthodoxy, who are saying, hey, we need to forget about GDP for a second. We need to focus on families. We need to focus on building up our society. We need to cut it out with all this insane free, quote unquote, free trade that's really primarily benefiting other countries. We need to stop that. That is part of the reaction against this. And no surprise that the Olympics, which is really, now the total expression of the ruling global elite, is collapsing in the ratings. 16.7 million Americans tuned in to NBC's broadcast. This is the smallest television audience in the past 33 years. It was predicted that the ratings could drop as low as 17 million people in America, and it dropped even lower than that. This is according to preliminary data from NBC Universal. Now, part of this is that people don't watch TV as much anymore. Certainly that's part of it. People are unplugging their TVs. They don't have cable, although it's worth pointing out this is network TV. So many, many more people will have network than would have cable. But sure, part of it is the technological issue. Part of it is just this vision of society is collapsing under its own weight. Steep drop. The Tokyo audience declined 37% from 2016. 37% rather. Hey, hold up there, you idiots. I know, you're idiots according to the liberal establishment. You're obviously much more intelligent than they are. It goes without saying. But you know what would make you an idiot? If you didn't subscribe and like and ring the bell. There's a whole episode here. You can go check that out called The Idiot Percentage. You can get it on The Michael Knowles Show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, all of these other things. And I hope to see you next time, especially if you've read my book, Speechless, Controlling Words, Controlling Minds. We can bask in our own deplorable, irredeemable, bitter, clinging, Bible-thumping idiocy together. See you next time.